We're on to now. Excellent. Good stuff.
Merry Christmas, by the way. This is our Christmas gig.
Yes.
Yes.
Ho, ho, ho.
Amy couldn't make it when the one in December, unfortunately. So this is so we're having Christmas at Easter this year.
We are. I mean, it's still the biblical
Yes.
season.
It ties in somewhere,
Right.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Christmas wasn't Christmas, Nick. I didn't see you. It didn't feel right. It was very strange.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 80s and 90s Retro Collector. Today we're going to be interviewed by the lovely Nick Field at Phoenix 98 FM on the Curveball Show regarding vintage and retro toys, computer games and all other fun stuff, and why people like myself, him and the rest of the team and millions of other people are so into this sort of stuff. The nostalgia, the taking you back to that warm, happy place of being a child with just escaping into a computer game, or playing with your Ghostbusters set, or your WWF wrestling rig, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Suicide. A time when things were simpler, innocent-minded, you know, no toxicity. You know, we're going to delve a bit into why people are so into it, for all those reasons that I just mentioned. So enjoy the radio interview. I'm going to be going on live in 15 minutes. Enjoy the show, guys. I'll speak to you in a bit.
You're watching 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You are now watching 80s and 90s Retro Collectors.
You are watching 80s and 90s Retro Collectors.
You're watching 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You're watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector. You're watching 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You're watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
Yo, what it do? It's your boy Jay Keys. I'm here with my brother Swaley. Welcome to the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
We are going to go to Florida, September of this year, and basically check out all the toy shops. It's going to be fun. I've got some friends in America that I've been talking to online that are looking forward to meeting up and showing me around some of the best shops. Cannot wait.
Welcome to the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You are now watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
I had a singer called Billy Hunt coming in. He immediately messaged me and said, "This has now got stuck in my head." So yeah, I didn't get the chance to play it last week, but I thought I would play it.
You're watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector. Come on!
You're listening to 80s and 90s Retro Collector, the channel with hit after hit. That is his new single, California Calling, which is out now, and you can listen back to my interview with him on the Curveballs page on the Phoenix FM website. If you want to get in contact with us right now, if you've got a question for Swaley from the 80s and 90s Retro Collector or Lady Grey and the Earls, who are both coming up imminently, then you can get in touch with us via all the usual means. radio@phoenixfm.com is the email. I'm on all the socials at Nickfield Media, and facebook.com/curveballradio is to find the links to these, to old shows and all the artists that we played. I'll be chatting to our first guest of the evening, Mr. Swaley Loughnane of 80s and 90s Retro Collector, after we've heard this, which is brand new from good buddy of the show, Michael Coulter. Hopefully I'm not tempting fate for the rest of the week by playing that. We'll be chatting to Michael in a couple of weeks' time. Very much looking forward to having him on. On the subject of guests, let's meet our first one on the evening, and he seems to have taken off very quickly on that old thing we call YouTube. Hello, Swaley Loughnane.
How we doing, Nick? You all good, my friend?
I am indeed, matey. Just recently, you have become a rather prolific YouTuber.
By accident. What happened is I started getting heavily into my collecting of vintage and retro memorabilia, movie memorabilia, toys from the 80s and 90s.
His collection is unbelievable, listeners. He has like a room dedicated to himself, and it kind of looks like it might fall over at any point.
There you are, yeah, exactly that. And I still find extra, it's like, oh, I'm not getting any more. And then, so I started... I went to somewhere called Nerd Bay, so I saw some Hasbro WWF figures. I'm like, oh, I'll just get the one. And then I said, there's my number, call me if you get any more. And I'm thinking, well, don't, because I've got an obsessive compulsive nature, and an addictive personality. So they're like, oh yeah, we've got another 4 in. So I went down and got them, and then it was like, oh, let's try this shop, let's try that shop. And then my brother, Sonny, said to me, why don't you film all this, like you going around the shops? And I said, and the toy fairs, I said, all right, okay, we can do, I'm going to do one toy fair. I don't want to be a YouTuber. Not for, because I've got enough on my plate, really. I don't want to have going out trying to find content all the time. Obviously being a struggling actor, having a full-time job as well. So I said, let's do this, the Rayleigh Toy Fair. I'll film that. Well, I filmed it. I put it onto my YouTube account that had been set up for several years, and I just put some acting stuff on there, just basically for myself to look back on and whatnot. And I then changed the name from just being Swaley Loughnane actor to 80s and 90s Retro Collector, and that video I put on just went like several thousand views and likes and comments, and I'm like, okay, that didn't happen with anything I put on to do with acting, but there seems to be a lot of people interested in all this thing. So my brother said, oh, we've got the Sandown Toy Fair coming up, which is one of the biggest ones in the UK. Why don't you film that? And I went, no, because I want to be in the moment and enjoy it. And he went, oh, just film it, go on, just do 10 minutes. Filmed that, put it on, and it blew up. Got several thousand subscribers come from that. So once we did that, I then thought, you know what, I did enjoy the whole Sandown experience, and it just went from there. Then obviously with yourself, literally just having fun with it. So it wasn't like I sat there and went, I want to be a YouTuber, but I love it. I'm passionate about the collecting. I love talking to people about people have followed me on Instagram, and they're like, oh, I'm now collecting Teenage Mutant Turtles, and it's helped me focus on something and get while I'm in recovery. I mean, I had somebody that was addicted to heavy drugs contact me through Instagram 2 Saturdays back and said they saw one of the YouTube videos, and because of that they were sort of embarrassed. Like they loved all the retro stuff, but they were sort of embarrassed to sort of do anything about it. But now they've set their own Instagram page up, they're into collecting, and it's helped them stay away from the drugs. And and another person that was an alcoholic said something quite similar, and I'm like, that you know, that mate, and myself as well, it keeps me on the straight and narrow, because I felt a little bit like before I'd go to work, I'd do my auditions, I'd do some filming, I'd do the gym like yourself, which it is still work, isn't it? It's not fun, it's still work. So yeah, it's given me a new lease of life as such, and I really love it all. I've got it is an addiction though. It's like, I need a bigger property here, because where am I putting all this stuff, you know? And you know, but I don't know, I've just go with the flow.
I think what we've established is there are plenty worse addictions that you could be having, and probably spending a lot more money on as well. A house that we've had for years and we're not really sure what to do with them. I mean, from my contributions to the channel, I suddenly realised we have a bunch of old board games in our house. I also have a huge collection of CDs from the 90s. So I've started talking about them on the channel as well, and even just talking about memories of back then. I mean, we recorded some videos for the channel earlier today about our favourite movies of the 80s, and getting into video games in the 90s. So yeah, you know, even just talking about things like that, I think people just enjoy that sort of nostalgia trip, don't they?
What it does, I mean, because I've made a lot of friends at the fairs and sellers and people that are absolutely love it, you know, fellow YouTubers and whatnot. And what it does, it takes you back to a warm, fuzzy place in your time of your life that where everything was so innocent, wasn't it? And especially this day and age, the way things are, you know, it's escapism. You know, sort of you sit indoors and you're just looking at your collection, or you're playing an old video game, and it puts you back in that safe place from like the early 90s, where nothing's toxic, is it? And you know, and that's what I've found a lot of people, you know, because especially with you know, the two people that I mentioned earlier that were struggling with addiction, they've sort of delved into the collecting, and it's distracted them. Because if you think about it, if you just sit there watching the negativity on the news and facing the harsh, you know, the world's a difficult place, you come back and you've got no escape, that's when you do hit the booze, isn't it? Or your drug of choice, cannabis, whatever it is. So it's definitely, there's more to it than just, why is a fully grown man going out and buying a toy of Sonic the Hedgehog? Have you lost the plot? There's a lot more to it, and a lot of people I've spoken to that are into collecting have said exactly that, you know.
Indeed, and all the toy fairs and like car boot sales. It's amazing what you can find at a good car boot sale.
Absolutely.
And you recently did one
into a WWE meet and greet to meet Carmelo Hayes and a couple of other WWE superstars, and they were doing a big WWE 2025 gaming competition thing. So I got involved with that. They're like, do you want to get involved with like 20 other people and see if you can win the Royal Rumble? I'm like, you haven't got to ask me twice. I'm obsessed with wrestling. So yeah, I got involved with, again, accident. I didn't even know that was on when I went down there. I was just buzzing about meeting wrestlers. Loved wrestling for 35 years, you know. So
excellent. So what is coming up on 80s and 90s Retro Collector soon?
Right, so what we're going to be doing is mainly we're going to be interviewing collectors. We've started this off with yourself and Phil Carew today, and over the next few months I will be interviewing several people that collect different things, several friends of mine, and people that I've met on Instagram and at fairs. There's a guy I know that's really into Transformers, and he's got like every one ever made, and he was involved with the production of the film because he had such a lot of knowledge on it.
That's a good catch right there.
Yeah, so just interviewing people, finding out why they collect, and talking like we are now. And obviously when other fairs come up, filming some of those too, but ultimately enjoying it, having a laugh. It's nothing serious. It's going to be, you know, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're having a right old laugh as you were at the fair. You're telling jokes." I went, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, right, okay." And I'm like, because it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm not in actor mode where I'm going to be like, "Oh, hi guys, yeah, let's all be deadly." I'm just going to be me and have fun, and if you don't like it, watch something else. I'm not doing it for views. I'm doing it. It's my passion. It's kept me in the straight and narrow. I mean, I gave up drinking 4 years ago, and since then, to stay clean, I've threw myself into the gym, like yourself, and you know, we've got a few workouts planned, haven't we? Which I'm looking forward to, and it's sort of something extra that I can sort of just focus on that's healthy. And there are, like you say, sir, many more worse things you can go and spend your money on than little pieces of plastic.
Indeed, and it's great fun because it's just you running around with your phone. There's a perception now that as a YouTuber you have to have lots of really complex equipment and you know, be really advanced and stuff, and you know,
right.
like a TV program, but you don't have to. And your channel proves that.
Exactly. I've got the best of cameras. I've got, because obviously I'm a filmmaker too, I've got the Rode mics like yourself, Nick, the lighting. I could, but again, I'm not doing a BBC documentary. It's literally just somebody walking around being themselves, buying old stuff from the 80s and 90s. I don't want a camera crew and lights, and what's the point?
Exactly.
You know, and
I don't think you'd be let in with to the fairs with those anyway.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, I'll leave that for when we make our next film, a team effort. But yeah, this is my hobby.
Indeed,
you know.
indeed. We'll be chatting more about team effort on a future show because it is a really good one to be looking out for. In the meantime, where can people find 80s and 90s Retro Collector on YouTube? And if any collectors are listening and want to get involved, how can they get in touch with you?
Right, well, literally just type in the 80s and 90s Retro Collector and I will come up, Swaley Loughnane, and it's all there on YouTube. If you type in Swaley Loughnane, Mother's Child, which seems to come up more than any other film I've done online, or Google my name, or my work's all there. You can find me on anything. I mean, I'm on one of the Marvel sites for the Black Widow film, DC, because I was in the Batman. So you can type any of that stuff in. My email's everywhere. If anyone wants to contact me about collecting, if anybody wants to contact me for any advice on acting, I'll help. You know, I'm a struggling actor. I'm happy to help anybody out there that wants any advice. Just please contact me, and I'm happy to help you.
And we should point out Swaley is Swayle, and Loughnane is Lou. So, well, Swaley, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Nick.
And well, the track that you've chosen isn't from the 80s and 90s, but we'll forgive you because it is a very good song, perhaps timely as well tonight.
Welcome. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Look up the 80s and 90s Retro Collector on YouTube. In the meantime, here's Green Day.
Hello everybody, you are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector. Make sure you subscribe. Wah!
Hello, it's me, Brawling Badger, star of Ballymoran, Drained and Essex FBI Investigates, and you are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector. Have fun and don't forget to like, share and subscribe and enjoy the video.
Hi, my name is Daniel Egan and I'm an actor, and I was in Star Wars A Rogue One Story. I played two characters, a Death Trooper and a Partisan. And I'd like to say hello to all my fans and especially 80s and 90s retro collector. Thank you.
You are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
Thank you.
Boom.
Sweet, bruv.
You are watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You're watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.
You're watching the 80s and 90s Retro Collector.